I am Eevee Pacini. I am going to just have a quick little yap session about Degrassi Next Class. This is a completely off the cuff yap session. I want to try to do more of these in 2025. Degrassi Next Class is one of my favorite shows. It is one of my favorite areas of the show. I feel like it did a lot of things really well. But I also feel like there are a lot of ways that the show could have improved. One thing that I will say is I don't think enough people give credit to the fact that Degrassi Next Class was one of the first Netflix originals. Streaming is now this whole thing that has like a whole structure and a whole like people understand how streaming works, how new TV shows are established via streaming, and how like whole seasons are dropped at a time. Stories are developed over a season arc rather than episodes being released week by week. It's just a whole different structure. Having to adjust from regular network television, which is what Degrassi had been in since like the beginning of time, to this whole new structure that nobody knew anything about, that was low key destined to fail. Like, let's talk about how streaming is not really the best thing for television. I just think there should be some credit given to kind of being a pioneer to a new form of media and a new way of media being released. And I think that is one of the hardships and one of the hurdles that Degrassi Next Class sort of had to handle, transferring from seasons 13 and 14, which were already a bit of a rough patch and already a bit of a patch where they were kind of meandering and not knowing what to do, and trying to both continue the stories that exist and start new stories that audiences are going to be invested in is a difficult feat for sure. Like, they need credit for that as well, because they were trying to do two things, which is to satisfy the audience that they had already built and the people who had been watching for years, decades, however long, the people who were attached, including myself. I was watching the show at the time. I was an active watcher, a huge fan all over Tumblr. They were trying to satisfy those people. They were also trying to bring in a whole new audience of people. They're trying to establish themselves on Netflix, which I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like most Netflix originals and most like streaming shows, especially in the early days of streaming, flopped after like a season or two. So that transitionary period was rough for Degrassi Next Class, and that caused the first season or two of Degrassi Next Class to be a little rough. But I think they came out on the other side and took the lessons that they learned from seasons one and two. Because for those who don't know, who may not know, seasons one and two were filmed as one block, and then seasons three and four were filmed as one block, and then they were split up into 10 episode seasons, which I think was really a disservice. But anyway, I really feel like they took those first two seasons and learned some great lessons and applied them into seasons three and four in an amazing way, in a way that makes seasons three and four of Degrassi Next Class, in my opinion, some of the best seasons of Degrassi, like inarguably, maybe argue, but like I would take that argument gladly because I think there is so much value in those seasons, and I think they were hitting such a good stride that it makes me so upset that we weren't able to continue into seasons five and six and beyond of Next Class, because I think it would have been not only one of the best Netflix originals, some of the best seasons of Degrassi, some of the most important and impactful seasons of Degrassi, because the kids and teenagers that existed in the early 2020s, late 2010s needed Degrassi like so bad. They needed Degrassi. They need Degrassi still. And it's just such a loss that they didn't get and don't get Degrassi. But let's stop thinking about what could have been. Actually, let's keep thinking about what could have been, but in a different context, because I'm going to talk about things that I would have improved on of the show that already exists.